No.
Tigers. Fight Tigers. Fight. Mike, it's not even a top 1,000 moment all time.
Okay, Tommy, shut the hell up, man.
Mike! Of course, I'm gonna go with the right answer. It's Ryan Eads of the Baltimore Orioles. He's only wore the number 80 for 8 games. He's only one of 2 players.
You know what? No, I'm not going to take this. Welcome back to Go Chat. We are back with episode number 106, back with another great one. We took a little break. We had fall break here at Ithaca College, but we're back to bring back some great sports. Hockey is back. Basketball is back. We got football. We got baseball winding down with the playoffs, postseason coming up next, or the World Series, coming up next week. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button. If you're not, welcome along for the journey. We got the GOAT of the state, one of our newer segments since Go to the Number ended. We did California last week. Before that, we did Arizona. Now we're on Colorado, going in alphabetical order based on states that have professional teams. So with Colorado, you got the Broncos, you got the Avalanche, you got the Nuggets, and you got the Colorado Rockies, all 4 sports. Mediocre teams at best. I mean, you got the Nuggets, the Avalanche are good teams. The rest of them are just mediocre at best. But we got great athletes, a lot of great choices here. Tommy, I'm going to start with you. I'm really curious to see what you'd actually go here with your pick.
Well, I'm probably not going to go with who you guys are going to go with, I'm sure. I'm going to go with somebody from the Rockies, of course, because why would I pick anybody that's not a baseball player? We're going to go with somebody who actually probably isn't going to be in the state of Colorado by the end of the year. It's going to be Trevor Story, the current shortstop for the Rockies. We know what he's been able to do. He's a 2-time All-Star, 2-time Silver Slugger, hits for average and power in his 6 seasons with the Rockies. And, he's been outstanding, but we all know that organization's in turmoil and there's no way he's coming back. So, it was good while it lasted in Colorado, but he's on the way out.
Some can say it was a really great story over in Colorado.
Oh, that was
Connor.
Good. That's just amazing.
It's really good, Tommy. Connor.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the best player in Denver, and that's Von Miller, 8-time Pro Bowler, won a Super Bowl, 3-time All-Pro, Hall of Fame All-2010 team, Defensive Rookie of the Year in 2011. 110.5 career sacks, 26 forced fumbles. Didn't play too good last night. Had a little bit of an injury on Thursday night. Obviously, hope everything's well with that. It looked pretty bad on the knee, but I'd put him as my best athlete in the state of Colorado.
Interesting pick, Mike.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Von Miller as well. I think he is a clear-cut, obvious pick right here. There's a couple other athletes, one basketball player, one hockey player. I'm not going to reel him until Matt picks, but Von Miller, cemented himself as one of the best pass rushers of our generation and possibly history. And just there's no other pick here for me.
Yeah, I respect Von Miller a lot, but that's not the guy who I decided to pick here. I decided to go with the reigning MVP, Nikola Jokic. What a career he's already had. And, you could make, obviously, the argument Von Miller has more seasons under his belt than Nikola Jokic. But Jokic won the best award that you can win. And I know Von Miller practically did too, since defensive players don't really win the MVP. But Jokic just cemented his legendary status at this point after last season. Von Miller's a great pick though, guys. I don't blame you for going that. That was one of the guys I was thinking of alongside Nathan McKinnon. McKinnon also hasn't had too many years under his belt over there with the Avalanche. But all great picks, Tommy. I don't know if I'd say the same to you, but no, Von Miller's a great pick. It was Nikola Jokic for me right when I started to think about Colorado.
Like you said, like the major difference between Von and Nathan McKinnon and Nikola Jokic is just that how many years of dominance he's got under his belt. While really Nikola Jokic and Nathan McKinnon, they've only had like a couple of years where they were some of the best players in the league. And really, it was last year where Jokic stepped up and became, top 10 player in the NBA. So that's what separates Von Miller from those two guys, in my opinion.
I mean, I definitely think Jokic was a top 10 player before last year, but yeah, he's definitely a top 10 player before last year, Mike. Come on.
Tommy, you had a comment?
Yeah, I do have an honorable mention. I can't even say with a straight face. I'm going to say Greg Bird because he's in the Rockies minor league system.
Oh my God.
We all know Greg, Game 3, 2017 ALDS hero, of course. But other than that, he's really struggled mightily. 211 career hitter, but he's in the Rockies minor league system. So we want to mention him.
Tommy, we want to mention baseball players. You can go, Charlie Blackmon. I mean,
true.
He's leaps and bounds above Greg Bird.
I know. Antonio Senzatella. I mean, come on. These are tremendous players. But
Tommy, you should have picked Mike Talkman for the Go of California. You totally slipped your mind.
Totally slipped my mind. He's much better than Mike Trout. So
easily. Best Mike of California.
Thank you for another great shout out, Tommy. I mean, we missed that ultimately. We get all those shout outs with the numbers, but not really with the state until now. So I really appreciate that.
Of course. I mean, gotta mention Greg.
Gotta mention Greg Bird. I never thought in the existence of Goat Chat that Greg Bird would have his name mentioned on here, and yet here we are, episode 106, and we're talking about Greg Bird.
Oh, how could you not mention him, Connor? I feel like it'd be a disservice to the viewer.
I mean, this is the wonder of Go Chat. What name will be thrown out next at this point? It's the greatest podcast alive. That's all I have to say.
Number one podcast in the world.
Yeah, we
hit the charts.
Yeah, we took that from Impulsive, the number one podcast in the world. No, we got a great episode ahead of today. We had some NBA talk. Finally, the NBA season's back, but we'll get right into that coming up next.
Welcome back to Go Chat. The NBA season opened this week. We are very excited for it. Yeah, Matt just drained that shot from 30 feet out right there. Logo shot.
You know it.
Anyways, there's so much to talk about with the NBA now that it's rocking and rolling. First thing we want to get to, we want to preview, give a quick preview about some teams that we love coming into this year, some teams we think are going to exceed expectations, and some teams that are going to disappoint, that won't live up to their hype necessarily. So, Matt, I'll swing it to you first. Who's one team that you think is going to exceed expectations this year?
I mean, I talked about this team last year around this time when we did our preview, and that's the Charlotte Hornets. I mean, what did they do last year? They were in the playing game, and were they in the playing game? Yeah, they were. They lost, right? Yeah. So last year, I thought Charlotte was a team that was going to surprise. No, actually, I thought Atlanta was a team that was going to surprise everyone last year. But still, this year, I think it's going to be Charlotte just because LaMelo Ball stepping into his second year. In the draft, they got James Bouknight. I know you're a fan of him, Mike, from Connecticut. You still got Miles Bridges and then Gordon Hayward. And then now they just also got Kelly Oubre over in the offseason. And we saw what LaMelo Ball did 2 nights ago. Technically 2 nights ago, and this episode comes out, but what he did in that game against who was it?
Pacers.
LaMelo Ball was shooting lights out, and I expect him to do that this year and kind of make that big jump going into like an all-star, becoming an all-star, and quite potentially becoming most improved player, who we'll see how this year goes if he can stay healthy and everything like that. But I expect a lot from this team, and I'm going to go, I got to roll with the Hornets here for the to exceed expectations.
That's a nice pick there, Matt. Connor, who are you thinking of? I'm
going to go with LaMelo Ball's brother and the Chicago Bulls. I think they made some really good improvements in the offseason, obviously bringing in DeMar DeRozan. You still got Zach LaVine there, who's really an up-and-coming superstar in the league. Vucevic was brought over in a trade last year. You have Derrick Jones Jr. there, Kobe White. You drafted AO from Illinois. I think this is a really good young team. I'm not going to try to pronounce AO's last name. I've butchered it one too many times. I just think this is a really good team. And, they're young, and I really think they have the capability. We saw a lot of work was put in for Lonzo's jump shot this past offseason. He really tried to make that form fit better to the NBA game and like the pace of play. And I'm really, really excited to see the New Look Chicago Bulls and see what they can really do this year. I am very high on them.
Good pick there. Good pick there. Tommy.
See, this is a tough one. I think I'm going to go with a team that made the playoffs last year. I think the Knicks are going to have a really good season. Obviously they had that big double overtime win on opening night. I just feel good about where they're at. I think, we saw a lot of progress last year, obviously, with the emergence of some young stars there. And I think they're in a good position. I mean, I don't know if that's, quite the best pick because they did make the playoffs last year, but I think they're going to continue to progress. And, we're going to see them get closer to being contenders.
Well, they did make some additions in the offseason. They had Evan Fournier, who was huge for them on opening, and I think is going to be huge for them the rest of the season. They added Kemba Walker. We'll see what happens with that. I don't really think that's going to be too much of a deal, but they did make some additions in the offseason, and they could make another jump. Who knows? For my team, I was going to pick the Chicago Bulls. I'm very high on them too, just like Connor. I love what they did in the offseason, and Vucevic really didn't get a chance to settle down last year, so they got a full offseason to prepare with some brand new pieces: Lonzo, DeMar, Alex Caruso. I mean, you could, it's a laundry list of names that they added. I think they're going to really come out and exceed expectations. They're already pretty high this year, so I think Chicago's one team. Another team I also really like this year is the Minnesota Timberwolves. Similar to Chicago, they really never got a chance to settle down last year because, Karl-Anthony Towns was out for a while. D'Angelo Russell was out for a while. Anthony Edwards was, up and down like the whole season. But I think Anthony Edwards coming into year 2 is going to make another jump similar to LaMelo, right? And finally, their big three is healthy. They also added some defensive pieces that could help them out on that side of the floor, because that's where they really struggled. Pat Bev, obviously, that's a big addition there, defensively wise. I think I'm not sure if Taurean Prince was on that team last year, but he's a nice piece. Malik Beasley is one of the best bench scorers in all of the NBA. So I think the Timberwolves are going to exceed expectations and sneak into the playoffs.
I have to mention them, considering how they laid waste to the reigning NBA champions just a couple nights ago, and that's the Miami Heat. Obviously everyone who's watching knows I am a Heat fan, but I mean, this team made huge improvements in the offseason, and they looked really good coming out onto the court. Kyle Lowry was a huge addition. I really think we're going to see Tyler Hero step into a role. I think he's really going to be a bona fide sixth man. They're not going to really try to work him into that starting offense as much as they tried to last year. They had some open spots. I mean, we got to remember, this team made the NBA Finals, 2 seasons ago, technically last year. Obviously, it was an NBA bubble finals appearance, but I mean, this team still made the NBA Finals. You still have red hot shooters in Duncan Robinson. Jimmy Butler is still probably a top 50, higher than that player in the NBA. Bam Adebayo's a huge presence there. I love the Miami Heat, and them laying waste to Milwaukee, I just thought it was a really good way for them to come out and start the year.
Yeah, I know. It was definitely an impressive way to start out the year. And I even was looking at the box score for a little while last night. And to see Tyler Hero step up like that, it's very promising for Heat fans, with the addition of Kyle Lowry also this year. I am very impressed with the Heat, and I do think pretty highly of them moving forward.
And, I mean, this was even with a game where Kyle Lowry really struggled. 1 for 8 from the field, 1 for 6 from 3-pointers, only 5 points and 6 assists. I mean, he did not play his best game, and they still beat the Milwaukee Bucks by 42 points. I mean, once you get into that system, I mean, it's going to be great.
Yeah. I think Lowry is a huge addition for the Heat, because they really never had someone who could run the offense, from the point guard spot. But they
do not discredit Goran Dragic.
Goran Dragic.
Hold on. Goran Dragic and Kendrick Nunn the past couple of years have not, their combined assist total does not equate to what Kyle Lowry had last year. So while Goran Dragic, he's great, he's a fan favorite of Miami Heat, he does not compare to Kyle Lowry scoring the basketball, playing defense, or running the offensive system. So I'm just saying that Kyle Lowry is a massive upgrade over Goran, and I think the Heat are going to be improved. I think that because they had so little time last offseason that really hindered them last year. So I think they'll come out and improve a lot this offseason. But we talked about some teams that we think are going to be really good, exceed expectations. What about some teams that are going to, be not so good? Connor, what do you think?
I'm really trying to think. This is the tougher question. I think the one that they're going to exceed the expectations. A team that I think of right off the bat, I think is going to be the Clippers. Obviously they don't have Kawhi for most of the year, if not all of the year. He had surgery in July. Rehabbing from a torn ACL, so that's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see how Paul George can really take on the whole role. In recent years, we've seen him, in OKC with Russ and Carmelo Anthony, and then he came over and he's had Kawhi. Now it's really he's the big guy there and with the Clippers, and I don't know how much of a load he's really going to be able to take on. We saw him struggle heavily last year in the postseason. Who knows if that's how he's going to play? He had some pretty bad games in the postseason, Mike. Just to say, and I mean, I don't know. I just don't know how much of that load he's really going to be able to carry for the Clippers throughout the year.
Matt, what team do you think is going to disappoint?
I think there's a lot of different team and kind of different stories that you could pick on teams that are going to disappoint, but I'm going to stick close with me, and I'm going to go with the Philadelphia 76ers. I mean, I understand they have Doc Rivers, who's a very good coach, especially, this regular season wise. He's a tremendous coach. But I mean, losing Ben Simmons for the near future because he's taken a mental leave because of expectations, something like that. I saw Woj tweeted. It's going to hurt because Ben Simmons, as much as people like to make fun of him and laugh at him, he is a good player, and defensively he really holds your team up. And we're going to be seeing Tyrese Maxey come into that lineup and play point guard. You got Jaden Springer, the rookie from Tennessee. You don't know what to expect from a rookie like that. They did add Andre Drummond behind Joel Embiid, when Joel needs to sit. But I think this team has very high expectations still to, be a top team. I think they'll make the playoffs. I'm not saying they won't, but I just don't think they're going to match the expectations that everyone's thinking of. I think this team is going to be, maybe a 4, 5, 6 seed in the East, especially with the Heat coming up. You can make an argument about the Hawks and the Celtics coming up. It's just, it's you don't want to see it as a Philly fan, but I just think, with the recent Ben Simmons news, this team is not going to be close to matching expectations from last year.
That's honestly a surprising pick. Obviously you're a Sixers fan, but it seems like you're pretty down on them this year.
Yeah, not too excited. I mean, Furkan, they did beat the Pelicans by 20. Furkan Korkmaz played lights out, but he's not gonna play lights out every game. So it's we'll see how it goes.
Tommy, give us your pick.
I'm gonna have to agree with Connor on this one. I think that the Clippers are a team that has a lot of talent, and they still could make into the postseason, but I think that, without Kawhi for the majority of the year, that certainly is going to hurt them. They still have some key players, though, Paul George, Serge Ibaka, right? So I think that, they could still have a good year, but certainly with Kawhi, I think they're, they'll probably underachieve compared to what they would have if he was on the roster, certainly. But, for the full year if he was healthy. But we'll see, though.
Yeah, I'm going to go over to the other LA team. I'm going to pick the Los Angeles Lakers. I hate the addition of Russell Westbrook. I don't hate the player Russell Westbrook. I hate how he fits in that system. And I think it was a waste of cap space. I think that they could have built around, LeBron and Anthony Davis, their two superstar players, and built a much, much better team compared to what they're going to have with Russell Westbrook. Because you look at their lineup, I mean, they really don't have the wings to go, small ball. Really, the wings that they have right now are from Charlotte, Malik Monk. You got Kent Bazemore. These are all bench guys Carmelo as well. I mean, even Carmelo at this point in his career, he's still, a bench scorer, right? So you have all these guys that really aren't great. So you're going to have to go bigger with Davis playing the power forward. Who's going to play center, Dwight or DeAndre? Then you have Russ running the point guard. Your spacing is just going to be absolutely miserable. And we kind of saw that against Golden State, even with LeBron and Anthony Davis putting up 30 points, they still lost. That's never happened before when LeBron and AD have been on the same team. So I think the Lakers are going to disappoint. And by disappoint, I mean, not make it. I mean, not win the NBA finals. They, possibly could still make it to the NBA finals. If I had to pick them in the field, I would take the field. But anything below a championship title for the Lakers right now is a disappointment. Therefore, I'm picking them.
Yeah, no, that's fair because they do have that championship or it's almost like a championship or bust at this point. So that's a fair. It's fair.
I think you could throw out another team that's in a championship or bust situation that I don't think is going to succeed. That's the Brooklyn Nets. I just without Kyrie Irving there, obviously James Harden and Kevin Durant will be able to play tremendous basketball. You have Blake Griffin, you have all these guys there who can succeed and who have had success in the league. But they were inches away from an NBA Finals appearance, last year. And it seems as if they don't get to the finals this year, it's not going to be a successful season for them. Obviously, you're in the same conference as the reigning NBA champions in the Milwaukee Bucks. But this is a team that has tremendous talent. They have a great young coach, in my opinion, Steve Nash. I love Steve Nash, and I think that they have to play tremendous basketball. And, without having your facilitator on the court and Kyrie Irving, that's definitely going to hurt. Obviously, they're going to adapt and adjust to it as we get further along into the season. And Kyrie Irving Kevin Durant and James Harden will step into the roles that we're accustomed to for them to have. But, they came out on opening night and really threw up a dud against the Milwaukee Bucks. A dud meaning they lost by 20, only put up 104 points. And we're talking about them as one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, if not the entire league. And for me, they just didn't have it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to overreact to one game. I think they'll be fine. Once they get like their feet under them, Katie and Patty Mills, both played great games, but really everyone else on that team did not, and they weren't able to stop Giannis. I think they'll be fine. They'll definitely be. I think it'll be them or the Bucks coming out of the East this year, and possibly the Miami Heat if they're able to figure out the Nets, similar to what they did with the Bucks 2 years ago. But let's move on to Matt brought up the Sixers. He brought up Ben Simmons. So let's talk about him, right? There's a lot of drama going on in Philly right now. Ben Simmons did return to the practice facility, but, a couple weeks into practice is actually yesterday or 2 days ago, Wednesday. He got kicked out of practice because he didn't want to participate in any of the defensive drills. And there's a lot of turmoil there. He wants out. The Sixers want to mend the situation and see what's going on. So if you're the Sixers, what do you do? Matt, you're the Sixers fan. Tell us what you would do.
It's so difficult what can you do at this point? It's not like people ask me oh, they should, or people tell me, oh, they should have traded him, before the season started. And I understand where they're coming from with that, but I also understand what Daryl Morey, the GM, is coming from. Ben Simmons is a really good player. Even in the regular season, he made the All-Star 2 years in a row. If you could get him up, get his trade, if he plays the whole regular season, get his trade stock up. And then at that trade deadline, you can maybe ship him out to a team that's very vulnerable and needs a new star, needs a rebuilding piece. That's when his trade value is going to be up. His trade value was probably at its all-time low after that playoffs. And I think trading him might have been the best option now if he's never going to play. But, I don't blame the GM for not trading him. As for right now, I don't really know what you really could do. Is anyone really going to want to – obviously people are going to want Ben Simmons, but what price are they going to want? Are they going to offer for Ben Simmons where he's at right now? I don't know. It just really ticks me off. At least just try. In that practice, there's a video on YouTube. It was bad. He was not even trying on defense or anything. And when they had to huddle up for to break down the team, Doc Rivers, he just wasn't even, he was in the background dribbling a basketball between his legs, he didn't even want to be there. So, and whether this is, he said mentally he wasn't ready for the expectations. If it is a mental health issue, that's something that people are dealing with nowadays, especially with Simone Biles kind of being that breakthrough athlete, to come out with mental health. If that is a mental health thing, then it is. But if it's just that you don't want to go out and be heckled by Philly fans, I understand they're brutal, but if that's that, then I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know. I really don't know what to tell you. It's getting to a point where he's turning into one of my least favorite players in the NBA.
Connor, what is Philly gonna do? What should they do?
I'll start by this. Going off of what Matt said. If it is a mental health thing, that is definitely something that has to be addressed. That is first and foremost the most important thing. Is someone's mental health, no doubt about that. But as Matt mentioned, if this is about him going in front of the Philly fans and really getting heckled, these players in any sport are living these little kids' dreams. They are playing sports for a job and getting paid millions of dollars to do it, and are really, really well off. They're super talented. They are incredibly famous. They are living people's dreams, right? And for you just to kind of throw a ball down and walk out of your practice because you didn't want to listen to your coach because you're unhappy in your situation, you got to grow up. Like at the end of the day, you just have to grow up. There was a quote that was said a couple of days ago. I don't know the exact date, but it was Daryl Morey essentially saying that he'll let this go on for 4 years if he has to. He's going to hold on to Ben Simmons until he gets that return that he wants. So they're ready for the long term. They will sit there and they'll wait until they get something that they want for Ben Simmons. They'll put up with it. Obviously, for fans like Matt or just in general, they're gonna get sick of this. They're gonna want production from Ben Simmons or they want him out the door. My sense is you got to grow up. You have to understand that the job that you have is something that just about any other person in the world would want, and it's just, you got to go out there. I'm trying to think of the word. You're
Role
someone
model.
you're an entertainer. You're an entertainer. You have to go out and you have to try to entertain these guys every night. And being the headline of news for all these bad ratings, that's not good for him. That's not good for Philly, and it's not good for the 76ers.
I'm just going to butt in quickly. I just want to, what Woj tweeted, this is what he tweeted word for word. Ben Simmons met with Sixers medical professionals and coach Doc Rivers today and informed them that he's not mentally ready to play to his expectations now, sources tell ESPN. So it's really what that means. He's not ready. He's not mentally ready to play to his expectations now. That's really what the sentence is, where it can be two different things, like I was referring to. That's what the tweet that I was referring to when I was talking.
Mm-hmm. Tommy, what do you think? This is like a very interesting story. What are your thoughts on this situation?
Yeah, well, I agree with what was said. If it is a mental health issue, then certainly, that's got to be addressed to make sure that he's good. But at the same time, you take a look at what Joel Embiid is saying and some of his other teammates, and I don't really know if that's the best situation for Simmons to be staying there in Philly. How would he be received if he came back and was ready to play? I don't know. It might just be best for both sides to part ways at this point. But bottom line is you got to make sure that he's okay first and foremost, and then then take a look at the basketball side. But at this point, I think it might be best for him to move on, but it'll certainly be interesting to follow.
Yeah, some good points there, Tommy. It's just so tough because I don't know if Ben Simmons will ever play for the 76ers again. It's very odd, how it all just came crumbling down, during the playoffs, and really, I think teams will still give a lot for Ben Simmons. I think, the league still regards him highly. And I think Daryl Morey's price is just sky high. You know what I mean? So, like, he's asking for 3-4 first-round picks and, starting caliber players for a player who's regardless of his defensive ability and, his playmaking ability, he's still very much a liability on the offensive end. And we saw that come playoff time, how that was exploited. And to me, he just looks like a player who's complacent with where he is as a basketball player. You come into this season, you're not trying, you're not showing up right. You don't go to, because obviously there is something wrong mentally up here. We saw it when he didn't take that layup/dunk in the playoffs against Atlanta, right? And so he did not decide to address that in the offseason. So it seems to me now that he's just complacent with where he is as a basketball player. And I think his ego is too high. And I think he's already 1 foot out of the door in Philly. And I think Philly should, try its hardest to get the best possible deal for him and just get him out of there. Like, he's just going to become a distraction and just become a cancer in that team. They're focused on winning a championship right now. And with Ben Simmons on or off the court, as long as he's a part of the Sixers organization, he's going to, halt them from doing such.
Matt, I have a question for you. Being both a Philadelphia 76ers fan and a Green Bay Packers fan, we saw Aaron Rodgers called out this. No. I'm gonna have
No. I understand. I was thinking about this before too. So just go on.
He held out for most of the offseason. I don't think he attended any OTAs, barely any of training camp, until they finally really ironed stuff out there. What's the difference in management between what the Green Bay Packers did to really get Aaron Rodgers back and be happy, so to speak, if Aaron Rodgers truly is happy, versus what the 76ers are doing, where they're kind of just allowing Ben Simmons to control what he's doing, not showing up, saying that he's not ready to play in games. What is the difference between these two situations?
I mean, first and foremost, Aaron Rodgers is really good. Ben Simmons sucked. Well, he sucked at the end of that Philadelphia 76ers, probably the end of his career for the Sixers. He was bad. That's one difference. But the other difference is I think Aaron Rodgers still has a drive to play. I mean, he would have retired if he didn't have a drive to play in the NFL. I don't know if Ben Simmons really has that drive to play. Obviously, he wants to play basketball. That's what that's his job. He's only 25 years old, something like that. He's a younger player. But if he really had the drive to play, he'd be playing for the 76ers right now, and he'd be trying to get out of there because he knows if he's going to get out of there, he's got to play. I mean, I really don't think they're going to trade him, unfortunately. I agree with what you said, Mike, but I just don't think they're going to trade him without him playing more games on the 76ers, and that's the end of it. There's a lot of differences, too. I mean, just the front office mistreated Aaron Rodgers in my opinion, for some multiple different reasons that, we could get into another day. I don't necessarily think the 76ers really mistreated Ben Simmons. I just think it was Ben Simmons being just, I don't want to say bad because I know he's not a bad player, but he was playing bad. So I think that's the big difference. If we really broke it down, there's a lot of big differences, but I think that's the main differences in that point. It's just Aaron Rodgers is an MVP. He's a very good player. I mean, the Packers really want him back. They realize they need him back bad. And Ben Simmons is just he's an all-star. I don't know what to call him at this point. He's an all-star player that is a liability on offense, like Mike said.
I do want to point something out really quickly. I think Aaron Rodgers generally loves Green Bay. I think he generally loves the Packers and the fans, while he has a disdain for the organization. I think Ben Simmons is the exact opposite in Philadelphia. I don't think he likes the city anymore. He doesn't like the fans, obviously, because they've been, heckling him, come playoff time and all that stuff. But I think that's a major difference also. If Aaron Rodgers really won out this year, I think he would have just pushed himself out of the door. He has that power, and he plays the most important position in all football, and he's one of the best players at that position. So I think that's also another factor in this situation.
I think this has been a really good conversation about all things NBA. We talked about Ben Simmons. We really gave some really good insight on some teams that we think are going to be great or not so great to start this regular season. We do still have GOAT picks and GOAT of the week. We're not going to hold you that much longer. We're going to get into GOAT picks next.
Welcome back to Go Chat. We just finished some NBA talk while that season's getting going, but we got another season of Go picks. I mean, and to start out, it's a pretty tight race. It's been a pretty tight race to begin with. Tommy and Mike are at the top with a record of 13-7, I believe. I have 11-9, and Connor's actually no, that's definitely wrong. I don't know.
I was gonna say I don't
know what the records are. Don't count me to the records. They're on the screen right now. Just look at that. Don't ever listen to me. I just did it too, and I should really remember. But nonetheless, Tommy
13-11. I think Tommy's 13-11 as well, as we had the same picks. Wait, no, I surpassed Tommy. Wait, no, I'm
Mike, I already know what happened. All right, Tommy and Mike are tied. I'm after them, and then Connor's after them. Yeah. So we're gonna start with some baseball. Big game, Atlanta versus the Dodgers, game 6. Atlanta wins, they move on to the World Series. Tommy, who do you think is gonna win?
You know, I'm going to take the Dodgers in game 6. I think Atlanta will win this series because they're going to be at home, but it's hard to pick against Max Scherzer in a must-win game. So I got to go with the Dodgers.
Mike?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Dodgers as well. I think Scherzer is going to come out and deal. Connor, I don't want to hear it.
All right, so we're all probably going to pick the Dodgers at this point. I mean, what a game to pick for Go Picks. Connor?
God, it's the Dodgers.
All right, we all agree there. Next, Tommy, we got some NHL action on Saturday night. We got the Toronto Maple Leafs versus Pittsburgh Penguins. Tommy, who are you going to go with?
I'm going to take Toronto in this one because I think that Sidney Crosby's been ruled out for this one. So I'm going to go with Toronto.
Mike?
Yeah, I'm going with Toronto as well. Crosby hasn't played as of yet this year, even though Pittsburgh has not lost a game in regulation this year. I think Toronto's going to come on top.
Well, I'm going to go with the Toronto Maple Leafs too. Michael Hutchinson's in net for them on Friday night against the San Jose Sharks, which means Jack Campbell is going to be in net for the Maple Leafs tonight. And Tristan Jarry is also out with COVID. He's in COVID protocol because Jeff Carter's out with COVID. It's just a red flag because, the Casey DeSmith in net for the Penguins. Red flag for them, but I still think they're good moving forward. But Toronto is going to win. Connor?
I can't stand you guys. Yep, I'm going Toronto.
Oh, you don't have to. I mean, you don't have to. I don't know why you can't.
But I want the wins. I just don't like when we all pick the same team. We should just find better games. But we let Mike pick the games. So
I can make a switch if you want, Connor. I'll take Atlanta.
No.
I'm going to make a switch. I want to switch right now to Atlanta.
Oh, man. I'd love you guys. You guys make my life so much easier.
You mean so much more difficult?
It's sarcasm, Mike. We got... All right, we got Portland versus...
It did not sound very sarcastic.
We got Portland versus Phoenix basketball Saturday night. Tommy?
I'm going to roll with the home team. Let's go Trailblazer.
Mike?
Screw the home team. We're going Phoenix. The defending Western Conference champions are going to come into Portland and take a W.
I'm going to go with Phoenix too. Connor?
Yeah, I'll take Phoenix.
All right. We're final game, Sunday Night Football. The Indianapolis Colts versus the San Francisco 49ers. Tommy, who are you going to go with?
Let's take a look. I am going to go. I'm going to take the Colts.
He's gonna pick the Colts. Tommy, you don't need to. I don't think you really want to talk anymore on that, do you?
No reason. I have no reason for that pick, so I have nothing more to say. I just kind of forgot we had one more pick, and we went Colts at it. So.
I'm gonna go with the 49ers in this matchup. They are the home team, Tommy, so you made a big mistake there. They're also coming off a bye. I think Kyle Shanahan is going to have a great game plan to go up against Indianapolis.
I'm going to take Indianapolis. I think Carson Wentz has really gone under the radar for his performance so far this year. It's been pretty good. I mean, his passer rating's been up there. Yards. He hasn't thrown a lot of picks, which is very good to see. And I like him moving forward, especially in this game against San Francisco and their secondary. Connor, finish us off here, buddy.
Oh boy, let me take a look. I'll take the Colts. I do like the Colts. Yeah.
All right. So not a lot of parity. This go picks, but that's okay. We got go to the week coming up next where we all have different answers.
That's
We'll see
right.
We'll see you next. Welcome back to Go Chat. This has been a very long episode, so let's just finish this up. It's been a little goofy too, but we got go pick or go to the week here. We didn't have an episode last week, but you think back 2 weeks ago, Daniel Jones almost beat out Tom Brady, guys. I really don't know what to say.
We're not using the word almost. Just say it. Connor won. Connor won.
You didn't let me finish. Connor won go pick. Go to the week. He doesn't win go picks. He won go to the week.
I literally have the most trophies for go picks.
Yeah, but you're also in fourth right now, buddy. All right. So he won go of the week with Tom Brady. I will give him credit there. I'm very proud of you, Connor. I think you deserve a round of applause from everyone right now. But we'll see if you can win this week with your go to the week.
Oh, I'm going back to back. I'm going back to back because I have the man who has emerged through injuries, of course. I'm going Ernest Johnson of the Cleveland Browns. Boy, did he have a performance. Let's just get a little bit of backstory. He had a terrible combine, a terrible pro day before he got drafted, wound up coming into the league undrafted, played in the AAF, then came to the NFL, sat behind Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, both of whom are hurt, gets his chance to shine, and boy, does he make the most of it. 6.6 yards per carry with 22 carries, 146 yards, and a touchdown, 170 all-purpose yards. I mean, he did everything. They got the ball back with 5 minutes left after Denver scored and had momentum, and he single-handedly put this game away and marched the Browns all the way down the field. Some of the moves that he had were insane. The move that he put on Patrick Surtain, I think, was absolutely incredible. He played really, really well. And, for this to be his first career start, his first career touchdown, Ernest Johnson, he had LeBron James tweeting at him. That's all you should need to know for him to win go to the week. He absolutely stepped
LeBron
up.
tweets about everyone.
He stepped up and shined when the lights were brightest on a national televised game. And Ernest Johnson is the go to the week.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm surprised LeBron didn't tweet about Tommy winning go picks last season because obviously that was a monumental.
I'm surprised LeBron doesn't tweet every time you choke.
I know. I mean, honestly, but he's more like a positive guy.
His entire Twitter feed.
He's more positive. He wants to shout people out, not put people down.
All right. Well, Ernest Johnson looked really good on my fantasy team too. So, and I didn't even waiver him, and he was just there on Wednesday morning. So I'm really happy about that. Tommy, you're going down this week, but I would like to hear your go to the week first.
Well, I'm going to go back to back like Connor, but not as a winner. I'm going with the same person 2 weeks in a row. I'm going to go with Chris Taylor of the Los Angeles Dodgers. What more can you say? The guy hit 3 home runs in what was last night? Game 5?
Correct.
Game 5 against the Braves. Obviously a must-win game. They would have been eliminated if they didn't win it. Freddie Freeman get the Braves out to that early lead, and he hits 3 home runs, which, he's been outstanding this entire postseason. He's hitting .364 with 12 RBIs and 4 home runs. So, 3 home runs in a post. I believe Reggie Jackson's the only other person to do it. So, really impressive, and he's my go-to.
The basketball player Reggie Jackson, right?
No, Hall of Fame Yankee Reggie Jackson.
All right.
Hall of Fame Oakland A. He wasn't just a Yankee.
I know, but he went in with the Yankee cap.
All right, Mike.
Come on, guys. It's gotta be Rain Dakota Prescott. Dak Prescott. He came out and absolutely balled out against New England and that Bill Belichick defense. Threw for the most yards ever against a Bill Belichick coach defense. This is including playoffs. More yards than anyone. 445 yards in the week. 3 touchdowns. He was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, with all that he had to overcome this week, with the Cowboys, 100 yards worth of penalties. Connor Williams, just an absolute drive killer, week after week with holding, and he was killing drives. And Dak just kept on, showing up to, kept getting up from the count. He was not down for the count. He kept getting up, kept fighting, and he eventually came out and won that game. With his touchdown on third down getting called back, and then him fumbling on the next play from I forgot who it was. I think it was like one of the Patriots linebackers punching out the ball. Also, Greg Zuerlein missing another field goal. So Dak just had to overcome so much this week. He put the Cowboys on his back and led them to a victory in Foxborough.
Do you know any other players, Mike? Holy crap. I mean, I feel like you talk about him more than I talk about the Yankees combined.
Okay, that's total garbage, Tommy. Do not even start me with that. Every single you found a way to bring up Greg Berg this episode. I mean, come on.
He plays in the Rockies organization.
Exactly. And you brought him up because he was a Yankee.
Mike, I don't give a crap that Connor Williams kills drives by holding. If we're talking about go to the week, all I care about is what Dak Prescott did, not what his offensive line made him lack of doing and killing drive. Well, are we getting closer to the camera? Are we doing this? Come on, man.
Connor is just so obnoxious today, isn't he? I'm saying that Dak had to overcome the mistakes from his teammates, constantly putting the Cowboys in a position to win.
A good feel-good story in Week 6 in the NFL. Dak Prescott had to overcome his teammates.
He threw for the most yards against Belichick ever. He has a perfect completion percentage in overtime. Matt, who's your go of the week? I'm so done with Connor Wood.
Okay, no more rides to class.
Go ahead, Matt.
Oh man.
Connor just likes to start.
I mean,
apparently Dak Prescott ends.
Hold on, guys. I have two problems with that argument, Mike. Why you should go to the week? First off, hasn't he been in the overtime like once, and that was the only game he went in overtime this year?
He's been in multiple overtimes.
No,
he's been in multiple overtimes.
This
year.
Yeah, I'm saying in his whole career, he's 18 for 18 in overtime.
Okay, but this is go to the week.
Okay, sure. And you brought up this whole backstory about Ernest Johnson. He played in the AAF. He was undrafted. He had a poor combine. All this other stuff.
Okay. All right. Second thing that is flawed of your argument, Mike. When you're throwing the ball 51 times, I hope you have the most yards against Bill Belichick offense. 6 other quarterbacks would have the most yards against Bill Belichick offense. I don't really give two craps about that. He's throwing the ball 51 times. That is how he's going to have the most yards against Bill Belichick's offense or defense. You have to give credit to Mike McCarthy for making him throw the ball 51 times at this point. He didn't even complete all 51 balls. Anyways.
That's kind of, not expected. When 36 for
51 times, I hope you have the most yards. That you should have the most yards against the Bill Belichick defense.
The better Cowboy for go to the week this week probably would have been CeeDee Lamb because he played out of his mind. But
can I say my go of the week? All right. My go of the week is the pure winner because he was rushing the ball insanely against one of the best, in my opinion, the best team in the AFC. And that's the Buffalo Bills. My go of the week is Derrick Henry, 143 yards, 3 touchdowns. Practically the reason why the Titans came out on top of that game against Buffalo Bills. Like I said, one of the best teams in the AFC, the best team in the AFC, in my opinion. Derrick Henry, what can you say? He's rushing the ball 7 yards a rush. He only rushed the ball 20 yards and got 143 yards down the field with 3 touchdowns.
Let's just think, Ernest Johnson ran the ball 22 times for 142. Now, we didn't have 3 touchdowns, but those numbers were very similar.
But Derrick Henry's were better. You just basically gave me that.
But Derrick Henry is also supposed to put up those numbers. Ernest Johnson came in with very low expectations, and he showed the NFL on Thursday night.
I wouldn't say he came into low expectations based on the fact that he rushed 95 yards against the Cowboys last year.
Well, that's the Cowboys defense. They suck.
Not their defensive line necessarily, though.
Last year, they were horrible against the run.
Mike, you're not helping.
It doesn't matter. Your points are invalid. Ernest Johnson's the go of the week.
We'll just let the voters. We'll just let the
Yeah.
voters decide, and we'll see what happens there.
How are we
Yeah,
leaving out Chris Taylor?
Tommy, no one likes baseball anymore.
It's a little harsh, but it's all right.
All right. Well, I think that's gonna end of another hostile go of the week. And another episode of Go Chat 106. We'll be back next week with 107. Another new go to the state. I'm not sure what state we have coming up next, but I'm sure it'll be a great one. I'm sure we'll have many different picks, especially Tommy with the baseball. But other than that, smash the subscribe button, follow us on Instagram, join our journey, and we will see you guys next week.